So you're streaming this environment?
Astro's out, but I think yes.
Oh, sweet. That's cool. I'll have to listen to my headphones.
The title for our final show of the year of Capstones and Stepping Stones, and it was a good title, so we stuck with it. The name is because we have 5 graduating seniors that are going to present their research and creative work tonight, along with some other projects from other classes. So we had an interdisciplinary projects course taught by Dr. Furman, and all of the setups you see here. We're going to have some really great, awesome live performances along with our research presentations, and also a piece from sound design and synthesis class. This is always really our favorite show of the year, just, having watched the seniors over the past 4 or 5 years and all that they've grown as people and musicians, and sending them off on their way is always a big treat. So again, thanks for coming, and we'll see you back here next fall, hopefully.
Hello, everybody. My name is John Paul Defreitas, and I'm here to present to you a little bit of my research and creative projects that I've been working on this semester for my senior capstone project. The first thing I want you guys to think about is the last sporting event that you attended. So maybe it was a basketball game or a football game here at MSU. Maybe it was something on a larger scale or a smaller scale. I just want you to think about that and what made that memorable for you. Maybe it was the nachos and beer. Maybe it was the outcome of the game, the score of the game. But a lot of times, it's something deeper than that. It's the energy of the crowd, the chants, the music, and everything that happens kind of surrounding the game. So in my research, I argue that this atmosphere is purposely curated by music and other audio-visual cues. So why this matters? Live sports are unique in the sense that they bring a huge group of people together to experience the same thing at the same time. You're not only viewing, you're not only spectating the game, you're participating in an immersive experience with everyone around you, your community. That shared experience is a big part of why sports become so important and such a large part of so many people's lives. And to understand that, I think you have to look at what's actually shaping the environment inside the stadium. And in my research paper, I argue that music is a large part of that. So here's my thesis statement for my research project. My main argument is that music plays a major role in shaping the live sporting experience. It helps organize crowd response, it informs identity, or it reinforces identity through things like fight songs and chants, and it also helps create that immersive atmosphere you feel while you're at the game. Oops. One of the biggest things that music does in the live sporting experience is guide crowd participation. So musical cues and ideas signal for when the crowd should clap, chant, react, or participate in any way. Because those patterns are familiar and recognizable, everyone knows what to do, even if you're not familiar with the specific culture or traditions of that team or sport. A good example that I used in my research was the White Stripes' Seven Nation Army. If you've been to any sporting event ever, you've probably heard that song. And there's no words. You can just kind of hum along or sing along, chant along. And the beat and the rhythm is really conducive to clapping, stomping your feet, that sort of thing. So it's a good example of how these audio and music cues can help spur crowd participation. It also helps keep energy up during breaks in the game, during downtime, keep fans engaged, and keep that immersive experience going for the entire, usually 2-3 hour runtime of the event. Music also plays a big role in communal identity for these sports teams and cultures. Things like fight songs and chants are tied directly to a team's history and culture. When fans sing them together, it creates a shared identity and tradition. So like an example that I use in my research paper is like Moni Moni for us, for example. It's a Billy Idol song. It has nothing to do with Montana State or Bobcat football, but for some reason fans have adopted that over the years to take on a new meaning and to show our love for the Cats and, of course, our hatred for the Grizz. Yeah. So let's see. Music also helps shape the overall atmosphere of the game. I argue in my research that crowd participation spurred by the music and audiovisual cues that you see at a game can really actually influence the outcome of a game or a sporting event. So that kind of ties into that idea of like home field advantage, right? Like When the Bobcats are on defense, we want the crowd to be as loud as possible so the opposing quarterback can't hear the snap count, hoping they'll jump off sides and get a penalty. So in my research, I really argue that these musical cues that spur the crowd to participate in this way, it can actually have an effect for the outcome of the game. And lastly, just a little bit about my creative project. I wanted to do a project that supported the thesis of my research paper. So I created a hype or promo video for the 2025-2026 National Championship winning Montana State football team. I wanted to create a project that serves kind of that research. Post-grad, I'm really interested in working in the world of sports broadcasting, so this seemed like a great opportunity to wade into that space and kind of get my feet wet in that sense. I want to take on a project that required a wide range of technical abilities I've learned here in the MSU Music Tech program, including music composition and orchestration, film scoring, video effects and editing, and something I'm personally interested in, narrative filmmaking. So when you watch my video, consider how the auditory cues and the edit support the visual message that you see. And thank you.
Having fun in an incredible environment. Today's about passion and energy at its fullest. And that passion and energy for this game isn't dictated by where you're from, okay? If you're from Missoula or the great state of Texas, it doesn't matter, okay? If you're from Billings, somewhere in the Midwest, if you're right here from Bozeman or the Pacific Northwest, it doesn't matter. We are all Montana State. You need to be ready for the moment. Whether you have one moment today or all kinds of moments, and then willing to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes. For this group right here, defending this family, kill or be killed today.
If Montana State wins today, head coach Brent Vigen will earn his 47th win with Montana State, which would tie him second most in program history with the great Sonny Holland, who has a statue outside the BAC on the far side to our left. And if Montana State wins today, they would go to 15-0. That would match Montana from the 2001 team for the most wins by a Big Sky team ever.
Play without fear or hesitation. Play with an incredible amount of confidence. Pour everything we have into this opportunity. One team is not going to be standing at the end of the day. It ain't going to be this team right here. We got to knock their ass out. Knock their ass out. Here we go. Bobcat Bill. Bobcat Bill. Bobcat Bill.
Like Ty mentioned, so many kids from the state of Montana. This is their Super Bowl. You got to absolutely love it. The best rivalry game, arguably in the college football landscape, is underway here at Bobcat Stadium. Malak keeps it himself, and he trots into the end zone. Tommy Malak gets things going for the Bobcats.
What a great job by the Bobcats offensive line.
The PAT good from Miles Sandstad. It's got the leg, and it's good. 49 yards for Miles Sandstad.
What a kick to end half. The Bobcats take momentum into half.
As the third quarter is underway, the Grizz will get the ball to start quarter number 3, but absolutely swarm, nowhere to go as Neil Daly blankets him to force fourth down. Finds a hole, and there goes Adam Jones. Plunges up the middle into the blue turf. Adam Jones punches it in because the snow flurries falling, the wind flying, but they're loving it here at Bobcat Stadium. Montana State will also win the conference title outright. Just a tremendous campaign here in Bozeman for this Bobcat bunch.
We're not done yet, okay? We're not done yet, but that was a big day today.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We got her done. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6.
With the Bobcats defeating the Grizzlies in the FCS semifinals, they would travel to Nashville to face the Illinois State Redbirds and set out to do something that's only been achieved once in program history: bring a national championship trophy back to Bozeman. Falling just short in the championship games of 2021, 24, and 25, the Bobcats were poised and hungrier than ever to bring a title home to Montana.
Hello. There I am. Hello there, my name is Tobin Caffarel. Holy cow, I've never spoken up here. It's weird. I will be presenting my presentation about the legitimacy of EDM DJing. It's something I'm very passionate about. It is something that I do. I may not be super good at it. However, I do enjoy it a lot. I'm going to be giving a very brief overview of my paper, which is like 14 pages long. If you're weird and want to read it, I'll send it to you. The main thing that I assert is that the pressing play stereotype when it comes to EDM and DJing in that genre is very damaging and very reductive. It ignores that DJing is a modern form of composition, and it ignores a whole lot of other cultural and historical factors. Another thing that I tackle in my paper is the occurrence and the idea of a pre-recorded set. Pre-recorded sets can mean so many things. Generally, however, it's agreed upon that a pre-recorded set is just when the DJ simply presses play and then lets the file go, and then they pretend to twiddle knobs and do all their other fun things, do their fun little dance. The thing is that sometimes that is necessary or required. Some of these very large EDM festivals, I believe EDC, Electric Daisy Carnival in Las Vegas was one of them, they require that your set is actually pre-recorded and that you fake it. I say fake it as if it's invalid. I'll get to that later. It often has to do with very strict production schedules, travel schedules, and a million other things. One of them is, saving face. If you screw up, you look bad. Grimes is a great example of that at her Coachella set. If you're familiar, it's pretty funny. Another thing that I tackle is just general audience perception, both culturally and literally. You can't, well, I mean, I guess you can see my laptop screen, but if I wasn't plugged into an HDMI, you wouldn't see my laptop screen. You have very little idea of what's going on right here, or really with any of this stuff. So you generally, and the audience generally, does not really know what's going on up here. I could just be pressing play, I could be twiddling all kinds of stuff, changing filters, playing with effects, and it's really hard to discern sometimes exactly what the DJ is doing and what is just part of the track. And for some people, you just can't know. To the untrained ear, it can sound like you simply did just press play, and you may not even know the difference. I will say, however, that does not make it invalid. Another thing I look into in my paper is the idea of the selector DJ versus the modern DJ. The selector DJ is the type of DJ that will read the audience and then create a custom curated experience based on how they react and seemingly what they want. The modern DJ will do a little bit less of that. They'll do more what I do, which is pre-curate and then play a rehearsed routine. Sometimes you'll also find sets that are a hybrid of both. They are just different kind of performances, different kinds of DJing, and both of them are very valid. Like I said earlier, one of the main things that I tackle is the idea that DJing is a modern form of composition. A DJ can manage energy levels, pacing, and emotional responses of the audience just like any other form of composition. If you listen to different movements of an orchestral piece, for example, one of them will probably not sound like the second one. The first one could be super fast and energetic. The second one could be incredibly depressing and very sad. Things like that. Another thing that makes this a form of composition is timbral manipulation, be it via delays, reverbs, flangers, phasers, all kinds of effects. And depending on your mixer, you got all kinds of like ping pong delays, you got all kinds of like roll effects. There's so many things you can do to affect music live. And then, like I was talking about with the modern DJ, overarching musical structure is another thing that is important to think about when you are putting together a pre-curated set. You don't want it to just be static. If you think of it kind of as, looking at this next point, curation as an art form. Think about how you go to a choir concert or a band concert. They aren't just going to be throwing songs randomly in a set list. It has a lot to do with the emotion of the song. It has a lot to do with cultural context. They aren't just doing it randomly. There's a lot of flow, things that have to do with it. It simply is not that simple. So kind of going back to that idea of audience perception, the typical audience member doesn't really know and doesn't really care, seemingly, about whether a set is pre-recorded or not. Now, up to your personal opinion, you are welcome to disagree with that. But research has shown that typically, they just don't know. And how could they? Even for me, I've been to quite a few sets recently. The most recent one was Enzo at the Elm. Highly recommend that artist, by the way. It is difficult to tell if what he's doing is live. And with that show, it very well could not be. There's a lot of things included like time code, which is where you can pre-sync visuals with your production team, lights, and all kinds of other stuff, where it will read the file, and then it will trigger things based off of where you are in time. Speaking of where I am in time, I'm going to get a move on. So this is just the conclusion I came to, is that DJing in the context of EDM is a legitimate medium of live performance and composition that relies on historical factors, cultural context, and a strong understanding of musical relationships, both theoretically and structurally. This is my works cited, and then I just want to give a quick shout out to Eric Ang, /Default is his DJ name, for taking the pictures of me, my pineapple hat, DJing. I don't know if you noticed that. All right, so this is the part I really care about. Not to say I don't care about my research, but I care more about this. I wrote a 4-track EDM EP. The point of it is to showcase 4 totally different not subgenres, but just genres of EDM. If you're familiar, genres and subgenres can be a nightmare to keep track of. So I tried to keep it pretty simple. I kind of failed, but whatever. The first track I wrote is called Close, which is a progressive house kind of Deadmau5 style track. The second one is called Mr. Frog. Yes, I sampled Mr. Frog from Smiling Friends. It is an experimental bass track that kind of has elements of the subgenre 140. Very British. I don't have time to get into the complexities of that. The third one I named Netherlands to pay homage to Armin van Buuren. He is one of my favorite trance artists. Northern European, very upbeat, very fun. And then this last one is also very upbeat, maybe less fun, called Get Me Out. This is a subgenre called Tear Out Dubstep, which I will play for you now. It's very heavy, I warn you. If you are sensitive to loud sound, good luck. I also recorded a video to go along with it, kind of just going through my Ableton project. So if you want to look at it, you can. If not, do whatever you'd like. But I hope you enjoy Get Me Out.
Hello everyone, my name is Jazmine Gallagher, and today I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to be talking about my thesis project, which is dealing with the ethics of voice acting. And since I don't have time to go over everything that this encompasses, I decided to just pick the main aspect of that, which happens to be voice acting in animation and film, since that's the most prevalent. And when dealing with this, we deal with a lot of like stereotyping and lots of people not being able to audition for many, many reasons, but we'll get into that in a sec. But first, I wanted to play a little game with everyone. So, because I'm dealing with film and animation, I had to look at a bunch of statistics about voice acting in these parts. And so I just wanted you guys to take a guess. In the last decade of film, and we'll just look at Disney feature films for this, honestly, how many films do you think they came out with dealt with a person of color as the main character, or a culture that is not American or white presenting, from 2016 to 2026? If you guessed 5 out of 7, you would be right, which is pretty good. I feel like that's an awesome amount of representation. We saw great films like Encanto, Moana, super awesome stuff. If we look back at 2016 to like 2008-ish, if you guessed somewhere along 2 out of 8, not as good, but there's still some representation. But if we look at their beginning of their feature films from 1937 to 2008, surely there's gotta be a ton of films featuring people of color, and it's 4 out of 47, which is not exactly great, which means that only 17% of films made from Disney animated feature films are about people of color and representation outside of what we consider usually like the white presenting, white passing things. So when we look at this, we look at the statistics. There's this huge one that goes around where 82% of voice actors are white, which makes you think like, oh my God, there's a huge problem in this industry. It's super racist. But that's not actually what's happening here. Because when we look at voice acting as a whole, which includes things like advertising, things like your corporate videos, that thing when you answer the phone and no one picks up and it goes, leave a voicemail at the message. That's voice acting. All those little things encompass to being a lot more diverse. And when we look at this, it seems like, yeah, white people do have more voice acting in the whole industry, but it's actually quite representative and equitable to the census data from America, which is good because that doesn't mean anyone's being represented less, it's just more equitable than equal. And when we look at this in census data, we have to remind ourselves that voice acting in our consumerist culture is a very competitive industry. And because of that, you need to have money to be able to get ahead in the game. So when we look at American census data, we see that white and Asian individuals oftentimes have more money, leading to the ability to spend money to be able to buy these home studios, as home studios are the primary way people act nowadays, which can range from $2,329 for a really cheap, crappy one to over 27 grand, which is very expensive. And because of that, there's also the fact that 94% of voice actors have a secondary education. So if you're coming from a background where you do not have expendable income or an education, you're more likely not going to be able to compete in these competitive spaces, which is always sad. But to get on to my creative project, because it's a little bit long, I went ahead and scored William O'Neill's book, Worm Court. I took 2 excerpts for you guys to listen to today, the first of which follows a man sitting in the snow, kind of looking out, reflecting on life, where people have gone, where he's going, and then the second text follows a king as he's watching his town burn down in this big battle. All right.
Connor sat in the snow. His legs, like much of his body, were beginning to grow reluctantly indifferent to the chill. His face and his legs slowly going numb, first in painful pinpricks in his calves, thighs, and toes, his body letting him know its displeasure at the inconvenience his late-night escapade had taken them on. Right now, his legs would probably rather be back inside, either in the tap room of the Bayofer Inn, tapping their heels along to one of the older men's songs and sneaking drinks off of Una's trays as she went by, or those legs of his would rather have been in the old hayloft he could certainly assure was a place to sleep. Anywhere warm, anywhere, that wasn't the old stone step of the shop that had been open here all of Connor's life. That is, until 2 years ago. Now it was just sort of a building. One that didn't sell anything, just kept the dust for anybody who may have needed some. 2 years ago, the old man who had ran it, South, they called him, had left Drogcarney. No clue in Connor's mind why they had called him that, maybe it was his name. But 2 years back, he had made to go across the Luxus waters to the Empire proper, past the mountains and the old woods of Yardrum, and into the great, wide Empire, out where the nomad folk wandered amongst cities with walls that could withstand anything, but mostly just kept the wind out. Connor's face, though, was a lot more agreeable with the idea of numbing. The chill of that night had a partner in crime in the bottle Connor was nursing, occasionally bringing the bottle up to his lips and grimacing at the taste of it as it boiled its way down his throat. He was in the later years of his growing up that he had begun to understand more of what the men meant when they said they didn't drink it for the taste. Smirking, he drank more. He supposed that made him a man now. The street was barely lit. High above, the light of the great moon shone brightly. It bathed the world in its blue-green glow. Drifts of snow had long been building in this forgotten junction of seldom-traveled roads. A house 6 or 7 doors down was letting out a bit of an ember's glow of firelight flutter into the night through an almost shuttered window. The rest were far less giving with theirs. Greedily, they deprived anyone coming by on their own 2 feet any warmth. Connor supposed if he had some right now, he too probably wouldn't let any of it go. A little left of where he meant to, Connor raised a toast to the dancing ember. It was kind of dumb, Connor thought to himself. All his mouth could bring to that particular discussion was a grunt that could have passed for a cough. Red had been a good pup, about the best, Connor figured, though he doubted any official would drag themselves all the way out here to measure such a thing. She had a good coat. That is what anyone who grew around money had said about her. Una had said it, Fergus had said it, the lads down at the timber yard had said it. Connor didn't know anything about coats, except that he wished he had one as good as Red's had been right then. Heinrich Algen stood atop the steps leading into the forum. Far below the marble ziggurat was the city of Castellien, his home. His eyes scanned, searching for all the familiar landmarks and sights that would greet him from that lofty vantage. They were there, the rooftops, the squares, and winding roads that made the familiar portrait of his home, but they all seemed so wrong now, so perverse. The bells of the basilica sounded again and again and again, a low and hollow clang that was now one of only a few sounds that rose from the city. Each strike of the bell was a momentary reprieve from the faint cries of pain and misery below. Heinrich's eyes scanned the forum green for anything that he could linger upon. Each flitting of his gaze landed his attention upon a growing list of horrors. There was no reprieve. Laying in the grass of the groomed public space were the remains of almost 24 men. They had been burned in such completeness as to only resemble men in the suggestion of bones that now lay where the archers had made their final stand. The green grass around them was stained with soot, and around each man was a deeper black. The lingering remains of the greasy smoke that had coiled from them as their lifeless bodies burned. Heinrich hoped distantly that their deaths had been swift. When he looked east, he saw that 2 of the men had pulled themselves almost 30 feet from the others, burning all the while. For those 2, their deaths had not been easy, but prolonged and anguished as they passed into the light's radiance. Many of the old willow trees that had whispered their songs in the summer breeze now looked like skeletons themselves. Blackened branches reached towards the sky in frozen anguish. Hanging from several of them were the silhouettes of people impaled upon the branches. Viscera wetted the black of the gnarled limbs, and gore hung from them like perverse vines that moved lazily in the wind.
Hello, my name is Michael Shaw, and I'm here to talk about my research project and play some music for you. Mostly music, because that's more interesting. So, for my research, when I started writing music a while ago, I decided I wanted a way to publish it so I could share my art with the world and get paid for it. But when I found that it's not so easy as to just put your songs onto Spotify, there's actually a lot that goes into doing it properly. There's a lot of different ways to copyright things. You have to choose a distributor, and just getting your royalties. There are a ton of different kinds of royalties, and you have to register separately for all of them. I spent a long time looking through all of this information. I found a lot of blog posts. I read some very dry copyright law, but what I didn't find was one piece of writing that just covered all of it. So I decided for my research, I was going to find out as much information about this subject as I could and make a paper that you could just read and know how to publish music yourself. And I did that. I'm still going to expand on it later, but I think if anyone is looking for information, I think it'll really help. For my music, I wrote a 3-movement orchestra suite. It's based on The Lord of the Rings heavily. It is about the hero's journey. It starts with beginning, where you're in your calm home. It's all familiar. Then you move to the journey, which starts upbeat, but then it becomes darker and scary. But then you come back to destination. It's like the beginning, but it's calmer. It's not the same. You don't come back to exactly what you were. For tonight, I will just be playing a condensed version. The first 2 movements, and then a little bit of the third is put into the end of Journey just to finish it off. Thank you.
thank you to a couple of people. Sorry, I'm going to look at my notes here. First of all, to Tyson for being an awesome partner for that duet there. I'm really appreciative of that. Thank you very much. To Dr. Antas and Dr. Van Furman, thank you very much for helping us put on this concert. I really appreciate it, and thank you to both of the classes that you guys have taught this year. To Josiah Hansen, Jocelyn Gregory, and Ash Wilhelm tonight for taking the stream for us, and to my wife Amelia for being with me through this really tough year. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about my about my research while I get set up here. So this year you know what? I should probably introduce myself. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Mason. If you want to know a little bit more about me, you can read my bio that I put in this program for tonight. So I'm doing some work on assessing the accuracy and the application of mic pickup patterns and mic frequency responses. So far, I've had a little bit of inconclusive research so far. There's been a little bit of a lack of quiet spaces and strong ability to record everything I need around here so far. But I'm going to be continuing to work on it over the summer. I'm going to be measuring a handful more mics from our mic catalog, and I think I'm going to end up doing about a quarter of what we've got here. Most of this is going to be me talking about my awesome project. I want to say a special thank you to Jocelyn Gregory, who allowed me to record her and her entire band here over the last 6 months or so. Of course it's going to do this. I'm gonna have a little spiel about Reaper first. If you've never used Reaper before, it's really ugly. I hope that I can convince you that its ugliness is worth its awesome benefits. We're gonna see if I can get this plugin to work. So I guess I'll talk about that while I'm working on this. One of the things that Michael Shaw and I have worked on over the last handful of years is working on a free plugin catalog. He and I have worked pretty hard on trying to curate a selection of plugins that are actually going to be useful for the average student and that are going to continue to be free. For the most part, we've nailed that right on the head. I think we've only had a couple that have slipped through our fingers in the last couple of years. So part of my work on this project was doing as much of my mixing as I could with free plugins. As you can see, I did fail. Though that is mostly just in my mastering chain. I do have an L2 limiter in there. That's a Waves plugin. But give me just a moment, guys. Wow, I'm just dropping things everywhere today. So I may have tricked some of you if I had said that I was using Reaper and didn't say that I was opening Reaper. This is a Pro Tools skin for Reaper, mostly just here to say, God, isn't this ugly? Isn't this awful? This is not what I used, but just hopefully to tell you, hey, like if you do choose to use this DAW, there are lots of different themes, and if you're not comfortable with the default theme, which I think is quite handsome, consider using a different one. I'm going to give you guys a little tour through my project here today. Let's get started. So this project was recorded over about 3 or 4 weekends. We started with just drums and guitar. We moved on. Second weekend we did vocals. Third weekend we did some more follow-up passes on vocals. And then just this final weekend that we did just, I think 2 weeks ago, we recorded a couple more vocal lines, a couple more guitar lines, and actually myself playing the bass. Thank you, Jocelyn. We're going to start with the drums so we can kind of get a picture of that. Will gave us a really great kind of start recording here. So I didn't have to do a lot of work to this. All I've got is an EQ on a couple of these and a compressor on our kick and our snares. No toms. And that's mostly running through my master bus here, which is just a pretty typical master chain for what you might see for drums, which is an EQ running into a bus compressor. Probably the only thing non-traditional I've got here is this, which is basically a saturator plugin. Next in the mix, in my opinion, or at least for this piece, was the vocals. I thought the vocals were really important and really what tied this entire piece together. So these actually probably took the least amount of time because, again, Jazmine gave us a really tremendous recording. So these vocal chains are actually basically identical for each harmony. We've got first harmony. No second harmony on this one, but a third harmony here that I've blended together just wonderfully with very little work on my behalf. I'm also using a pretty typical effects chain here of a slow compressor into a fast compressor with an EQ. Guitars were probably the biggest struggle here. Pardon me, that's the wrong one. I've, for the last couple years now, done almost all of my recordings for acoustic guitar with a stereo space pair. That actually did not work out super great for this. It didn't work out bad in the end. I'd say it sounds pretty good. But unfortunately, I do have to have a real nightmare of an EQ on this to get it back to level, to a spot where it sounds delightful and lovely. Without it, we're a little warm and flubby. But that's okay. We got it there in the end. And then myself on bass, which is a much easier recording, partially because I know my own sound, and partially because I'm not playing anything super dynamic or aggressive here. I'm able to just kind of leave something on it and let it ride. Wonderful. I'm going to let you guys take a listen to 2 tracks that I've mixed for this album. Thank you very much.
Seeing something that I'm not, or am I just a participation award? Need someone to illustrate me, paint me with the ache of wanting more. You left me with a view so great, but nothing to show. I'd Did you get what you wanted? Always doing your best to push me out, making friends with my friends, and talking them up to make them doubt, checking locations, you're patient, so calculating, you hate didn't work out. Do you get jealous? Do you get jealous of me now? Go ahead and just hate me, berate me, make a fool of you and me. I know all worked out. Do you get jealous? Would you believe me if I said there are things that I wanted you had them? Give you some sick kind of inner zen, making up those conclusions in your head. I feel super bad for you, still do. Used to wish I were like you, but I know you're so sold out. Do you get jealous? Do you get jealous of me now? Stuck in a cycle, get far. Your best just a weak scar, but there's no envy now. Do you get jealous? Oh
Before we get started with the final piece, I would just like to say thank you to everyone in the audience for coming. Thank you to all our wonderful seniors for putting on a wonderful, wonderful set of performances and research projects. And go Cats! So this final piece is a group improvisation for no input mixer. You've seen Alex, Mason, and Tyson use the no input mixers already, but basically we've created feedback loops on every channel. And everybody has 4 channels they can do with as they will. And I have the master volume control while Will will be processing everything in Ableton. And hopefully nothing explodes.
get you all up on the